Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you my Chaos Thunder Dragon deck profile. Now this is the deck that I really enjoyed, and especially with the new cards that came out in latest sets, I think the deck kind of became a little bit more stronger, although some people think that those cards are not the best for the deck, but you know, I wanted to try them out, see how they will work out, and let me know in the comments down below what you think about this list, of course. But I think the deck is really cool. It's a great time. It's a little bit of a difficult deck to play, but it's really cool. But before we jump right into the video itself, like I said, if you want to let me know in the comments down below a few things and tips, I would really much appreciate it. If you want to help the channel a lot more, please consider subscribing into the channel and give a like to the video if you enjoyed it. But without further ado, let's jump right into the Thunder Dragon list. Alright, so starting with the list itself, I'm just going to say right now, this is a 45 card list. Normally I like to run 40, but just like the suggestion that people gave me last time when I played Thunder Dragons, I kind of felt like Thunder Dragons can play over 40 and still be fine. Up to 45 is still okay, which is that's what I did here. You can cut some particular cards down or particular engines if you feel you don't want them. And there is a specific 5-card engine that you can cut here in the Greater of Ease if you don't want to play that expensive card. And it's also giving you 5, the 5 that you cut down and an additional space in the extra deck, so you can do whatever you find necessary. But now, let's get started with the list itself, finally. So starting things off, we're going to start with the 12 standard Thunder Dragons. Of course, there's also Duo, but Duo is in another section, which is the Chaos section. So, these are the 12 standard one, which is 3 of the original, 3 of Dark, 3 of Roar, 2 Matrix, and 1 Hawk. Original is really good. It's not a hard once per turn to pitch itself to add up to 2 Thunder Dragons, the original, of course, to your hand. So that is really cool. You can just use this as fodder to sometimes like discard 1, add 1, discard 1, add 1, and then you have 2 particular materials in the graveyard for a Thunder Dragon fusion, which is really cool. Or it can help you trigger your Titan, which is also another really nice thing. It's pretty rare that you add 2 of them at the same time. It's maybe going to be in a case of, like, for example, you have this in your hand, and you have a Thunder Dragon Hawk, and it's somehow in the graveyard, and then you banish it for its effect to Magical Mallet, so then you maybe want to have another +1 card in hand, just to have a better chance to draw specific cards that you want to. So that's why sometimes you do use that effect, but not really. And speaking of Thunder Dragon Hawk is a monster reborn on its other effect. Unfortunately for these guys, which is completely understandable, they can only use one of the effects per turn and only once that turn. So if you use one effect, you cannot use the other, which is a shame, like I said, but it's completely understandable. Thunder Dragon Hawk, when it gets banished or sent to the graveyard, you get to Magical Mallet, or if when you discard it, you get to basically, how should I say this, like Monster Reborn any Thunder monster that is in the graveyard or banished, which is really cool. Matrix is a quick play hand trap, I guess, for Thunder Dragons, which trigger Titan, giving your Titan 500 additional attack if you want to, or any Thunder monster, and then you basically, with Titan effect, pop a card on the field, so that's really cool. And when it's sent to the graveyard, it adds another copy of itself. It really doesn't matter to run more than 2, because we don't have Colossus anymore, at least for now, so these 2 are a little bit worse, or should I say these 3 are a little bit worse, but still a really good card, because 2 copies is enough, because you can always shuffle the one of the copies back into the deck, and then just use this in a later turn. Also, it's not a bad normal summon if you have to in a pinch. Then we have the 2 main stars, Dark and Roar. These 2 are amazing. Dark is basically another kind of hand trap, if you have to, or just in general can do that to fuel your graveyard. You can discard itself as a quick effect to add another copy of itself to your hand, or if it's sent to the graveyard or banished, you get to add any Thunder Dragon card from your deck to your hand except itself, which is really cool. Then we have Roar, which is a great recovery card. If you discard it, you add any Thunder Dragon card in the graveyard or banished that include your fusion. And then the effect that you mostly care about is the effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard or banished, you get to special summon any Thunder Dragon monster from your deck except itself, which is, again, really powerful. And it get bounced to the hand during the end phase, which is sometimes actually is relevant. Just going to stop that on that before we'll continue, because sometimes I actually summon a Matrix or a Dark from my deck, and I don't need to use the monster for material. I leave it on the field, I get the Dark back to my hand or the Matrix, and then it can be used as a hand trap for my Titan. So that's sometimes a little thing that you need to know about Roar, which is pretty important. But that does it for these guys. A little bit more explanation, because I always like to explain the main engine. Now for the Chaos package, we have 1 Duo, 1 Livionnaire, one Valkyria, 1 black, and 1 white. these are the Chaos Monsters that I decided to run. Technically, I wanted to also run Chaos Creator, but I didn't really want to get to 46 cards because I felt like 46 cards would be too much. But I felt like this just does what it needs to do. Sometimes I want to cut one of these and add Creator, but for the most part, I think they do their job. White Wyver Buster and Black Dragon Kalapa Servants are great cards to, you know, the little babies that get you the Striker Dragon and then get you the Heretic Seal, which is really cool, and they're searches themselves. Chaos Valkyria is here because we needed another light target for your Chaos space, because you have a lot of Darks, right? And sometimes you draw this in your hand, and if you don't have the ability to add light to your hand, like you have another light in your hand, this is basically dead, like the Chaos space. So having the ability to have another light just in case was really, really beneficial. And also Valkyria is also really, really nice because of the fact that it can banish any light or dark, which is her second reason why she's so good. And the last reason is because Titan Effect. Titan Effect can send, like, make her send to the graveyard any card that you want to. Because Titan sometimes protects itself when it gets destroyed, so having the ability to kind of, like, when it gets destroyed, banishes from the graveyard and another card, of course, and then set up your graveyard for something else, sometimes actually really helps, so that's why I like Valkyria a lot. Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, great card, can either, if you banish all dark, you get to basically, shuffle a card, random card from your opponent's hand into the deck. If you banish all light, you get to Monster Reborn, and if you banish light and dark, you get to pop 2 cards on the field, which mostly actually happened the third effect that I mentioned. Banishing light and darks happened more in this deck, but you could manipulate that. It is a shame that it requires 3 banish, so sometimes it's a little bit costly, but it's also really nice if you need to, as like a pinch card, to just like summon it immediately, like if you, what it called, draw this in your third turn and you have your graveyard set up and you want to trigger all of your Thunder Dragon's effects, is a really good way to just do stuff, so this card is insane. Duo is just an in-theme Thunder monster, or should I say Chaos monster, so that's why we want to run this at 1. And it's also have its own nice effects, which can help you in battle and some stuff like that, so that's a really, really nice card. And then for our normal summons, I guess, from the deck, beside the Matrix, we have 3 Aloof Lupine and 1 copy of Batteryman Solar. I kind of wanted to run a second copy of this, but then I realized I have another card that kind of serves as an additional starter, so I kind of like felt I don't really need a Batteryman Solar, the second copy. Because we do have Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion, which is, spoiler alert, these kind of like help you serve as additional starters as well, so I felt like Batteryman Solar doesn't really need it. And it's mostly for combo heavy hands, which don't really happen a whole lot. If you want to go more that route, by all means you can even run 3 copies of this and then cut 2 cards and just like play 3 and 3 if you feel like it. But Solar is just fine. I think Aloof Lupine does the better job because it's banish anything from your hand for your Thunder monsters, and then if they negate the effect, you're still able to maybe proc the effect, which is really, really cool. So, like, they have to be very, very careful with what they negate with their cards. So that's why I like Aloof Lupine a lot. And then, for your hand traps, I guess, 3 copies of Nibiru and 3 copies of D-Shifter. You kind of need to have a light and dark hand trap, in my opinion. These are the 2 best ones that I found, because Nibiru is a really impactful card this format, and D-Shifter is the same thing. You kind of need to play really, really strong cards this format. I wanted to play Effect Veiler and Phantasme, but I found Phantasme, even though it's really good against Bird Up in a way, it's not the best thing in the world, even though it's fix your hand, so it's like, I'm not 100% sure. I might switch D-Shifter for it, because sometimes D-Shifter does feel like a dead card, but I really, really like the utility this card give you, that it just shut down decks immediately. It's absolutely insane how fast this card shut decks. So that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, I like Dimension Shifter a lot. And then Nibiru, like I said, is just a really high impactful card that a lot of people like play around, but doesn't really play around enough. I feel all the time like a lot of people just don't really play around Nibiru well, so that's why it's really cool. And then for the last 2 monsters, the 2 monsters that you could cut if you don't want to, the Destiny Hero package, these are the 5 cards I mentioned, these 2 and their fusion spell. These can be cut down for you to play 40 exactly if you want to. If you also want to, you can technically also make this 43 and maybe even cut 3 additional cards if you find like it, and like make this with a Dragoon. I guess. But I felt like the Destiny Hero engine is a lot better, especially in hands that you use your resources a lot, which sometimes does happen. So having a way to replenish these is really important. It is a shame that you do banish these from the graveyard and don't really serve as additional names for your Thunders sometimes. But it is what it is. They're still really, really good, and they give you additional resources. So it's kind of like, it's really depend on what you specifically want to have. If you feel like the two monsters, the vanilla monsters, are better, go for it. Like, you know, with the Dragoon, and you think like the Gate of Dragoon is better, go for it. But I think this is better. And also on top of that, like, Dragoon can only be activated with Verte Anaconda, and that's an infusion. If you draw one copy of it, even they negate your Verte, you can still activate the Destiny Fusion from your hand, so that's really, really cool. But that does it for the monsters. Now move on into the spells, which is a very, very short lineup of spells. Obviously, 3 Destiny Fusion, because I'm playing the DPE. Then 2 Thunder Dragon Fusion, 3 Chaos Space, 3 Allure Darkness, and then the 1 Gold Sark, the 3 Ready Fusion, and then the 1 Instant Fusion to round off your spells. This is basically the lineup of spells that, in my opinion, you should run in the deck if you're playing this lineup of monsters, or should I say, like, this lineup of deck of 45 cards. It's 16 spells overall. Instant Fusion and Ready Fusion just supposed to help you to bring out Kaminari Attack, which then can start your plays, or another Instant Fusion target, which we'll talk about it. Gold Sark is another card. Allure Darkness is the Pot of Greed. Chaos Space is just another way to start your plays if you have to. Thunder Dragon Fusion is a card that I am considering cutting down to 1, although I think like the second copy does come up. So, you know, the 2 copies are pretty fine. And then the Destiny Fusion, or Fusion Destiny, because it's part of the Destiny Fusion engine that we run in the deck. And that's pretty much does it for the spells. I don't really think the spells need any more explanation compared to the monsters, because these are pretty self-explanatory. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. And for the extra deck, let's start first with the Fusion monsters, which is 2 Titan, the 1 Theme Monster Theseus, 1 Kaminari Attack, and then the 1 copy of Destiny Hero, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. I think that's the name of DP. Yeah, that's pretty much the name. Like I said again, I'm still proxying this because I don't have it yet, because it will take time for this to arrive, but I'll definitely play it when I'll have the card in my hand, because the card is really good, and while a lot of people would say, like, you know, it's a really good card, I think it's a lot more fair than Dragoon in a way, even though it's really powerful. It's kind of a weird thing to say. But, like, it has its advantages and disadvantages, of course, compared to Dragoon in this deck. Like, in Dragoon, giving you a negate, which is really much sometimes better, but, like, DPE all the time return itself. So, there is advantages and disadvantages for both. It's really up to you. And it's also a card that can avoid droplets, because you can technically pop itself in your own Vert, for example, and then, like, leave your Titan, and then they will try to maybe droplet you, or, like, you know, specifically if you have additional interruptions or something, and they will try to droplet you, of course, depending on your hand, and then this can still come back in the standby phase, which is really cool. Then Kaminari Attack, like I said, the Instant Fusion Ready Fusion target, it's giving you the ability to play, because you banish it and a Thunder Dragon in hand to summon the Titan, which is another way to get to Titan, which sometimes you actually have 2 Titans on the board, which is crazy. And it's also giving you the ability to proc your Thunder Monsters effects, which is really cool. And then Sea Monster Theseus is for another little engine that we have here, which I think is really important for some particular plays, so that's why I like Sea Monster Theseus as a one-off as well. And it's also another Instant Fusion target. You can technically run a second Kaminari Attack if you want to, if you feel that is more necessary, or the level 2 tuner, and then also run the Chaos Dragon Ruler, or whatever that's called, the level 8 Synchro. But I found like Sea Monster Theseus giving you a little bit more of consistent results for what I'm trying to do. And speaking of the result that it's trying to do, we run the 1 copy of Ultimate Zolkin and the 1 copy of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. I felt like this is a stronger engine than the Chaos Ruler, which Chaos Ruler is pretty cool, but I felt like these do a better job. Ultimate Zolkin is a dragon which can work really well to bring out your seal. And then this is an interruption with a greater of ease. You just set your Thunder Dragon Fusion or any spell, and there you go, you got yourself an interruption, which is really easily. So you basically have the Sea Monster Theseus, and then either the original Thunder Dragon, I guess, or Darks that you summon from the deck. Now, of course, it really depends. Sometimes you don't really get to these, so they could be cuttable cards, and the Ready Fusions and the Instant Fusions as well. But I felt like these just do so much when you get to them, so I felt like I just want to run these because of that. It's giving you another free interruption, which is really good. And then for the Link monsters, Linkaribo, Striker Dragon, Heavenly Spheres, Verte, IP, Unicorn, Appaloosa, and Underworld Goddess. These are the 8 Link monsters that I decided to run. Underworld Goddess is just a really good card if you have IP plus Verte and you don't want to go Appaloosa. You can just, like, you know, proc your own Titan when you want to, and then just, like, take another monster from their side of the field, and then just make this, which is, it's really depend on the deck that you're playing. Sometimes you make Appaloosa, sometimes you make this. Depending, of course, on the board, sometimes you even make Unicorn. So these are the 3 cards that's supposed to help you with the Appaloosa, and not Appaloosa, the IP. But by themselves, they're also a really great card, so that's why I run them. You could make even a room for access code if you really want to, but A, I don't have access code itself, and B, I just don't really think you kind of need it because the monsters in this deck are really big, so it's like, access code is really good, but it's not that much good in, like, I'm not saying it's not good in this deck, and just, it's not a card that will make the room for it. That's what I'm trying to say, because I don't really feel I need it. Linkaribo is for the Matrix, Striker Dragon is for the Black and White Dragon and the Ultimaya Zolkin if you have to, Heretic Seal is to take 2 dragons, which is really easy to make this, and Verde Anaconda is to summon either a Thunder Dragon if you have to, or DPE, which is kind of the entire point. But that's pretty much does it for the extra deck and does it for the deck profile as a whole. Hope you enjoyed this. I feel like this deck is really fun, and with additional more support it can be really cool. I heard that there is some particular things that people are trying with the, I think, Despia/Alba's cards that are going to come out in a few months or so, I believe, which is really cool. I'm definitely going to look forward into this, but I think this deck as a overall right now is still doing really fine. But that's pretty much does it for the video on the deck profile itself. Let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next deck choices to close up the video, we have basically 2 old options and 2 new options. Because for one of the older options, people have been asking me for a little bit of a while to do virtual worlds, so I'm just going to deliver on that promise and do virtual worlds. So for now, Virtual World's supposed to be the next list. However, after that, what is the list that you want to see? Either it's going to be Vendrids and Majestus, which are the returning from last week, or the 2 new ones that I'm kind of bringing back, which are going to be Earth Machines and, of course, the Lyrilusk, which if we'll choose Lyrilusk, I might do Pure and Tri-Brigade versions follow back-to-back just because I like both decks really much. For Lyrilusk, and I'm actually very happy that Lyrilusk got something. Now, of course, I'm not going to play with things like droplets, of course. I'm going to show you a little bit more budget options that you can play, which is really cool. But yeah, if you want to choose any of these options, let me know in the comments down below which one you want to see after Virtual World. But that's pretty much does it for the video, so hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you do. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.